The solution to the housing affordability crisis. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee because we're going to have a talk about a solution to the actual housing affordability crisis. Now, I saw a tweet where someone quite well articulated the biggest issue with regards to housing affordability. And well, it's not interest rates. It's not supply, but that certainly is an issue. It's getting a deposit together. People can service these loans. It's actually easier to service many mortgages than it is actually paying rent. And yet people struggle to get into these houses because getting a deposit together is such a huge feat. That's why we've got the government with their 5% and 2% guarantees. You've got shared equity now coming in. These are piecemeal, 10,000 people here or there, interventions in the market that I wouldn't support. I would argue that we need to allow people to use their own resources to get into the housing market. But at least our politicians are not as, well, crazy as those in America, where they were handing out mortgages to anyone with a pulse. So how is this manifesting? This deposit struggle, this housing affordability crisis because the deposits are just so insane. Well, let's have a look at this article here. And this explains it. We've gone over this many times before. It's the bank of mum and dad are stepping in and helping their children to get into property. Now, here's the thing. The previous generation wasn't forced to lock away a portion of their money every paycheck that they couldn't access until they were retired. So they could take those big stacks of cash, 10% of your pay. It's going even higher now, isn't it? 12 or is it a 14%? Every pay locked away that you can't use to get into a house. They used that. They had access to that. That helped them get into a deposit. I remember when we were frustrated with getting into, well, I was frustrated with getting into a house when I had the equivalent of a third of my bloody mortgage sitting in super there. And what's my super gone up in that time? 30% maybe a bit more. My house is up over 140% in the same period. Now, my wife, Rachel, is a little, shall we say, paranoid about super. She doesn't trust the government to not change all the rules. And frankly, I can't blame her, to be honest. So, that's why a lot of our additional investments now are going into, well, outside of super, building up another income stream passively, as I've mentioned on the channel many times before. But this is the thing. I would make the argument, the Liberal Party have put that forward, many people have before, that people should be able to use a portion of their super to invest in their primary residence. When you've got people using their super to buy investment properties. I remember there was one lady I knew. What she did is she bought a property, or her family-controlled super, bought a property, an apartment for her to live in. And one of her friends was signed on the lease. So she was living in this apartment that was owned by her super fund, which you can't do, and getting all the advantage of it. Because I remember it was all these. Here in Brisbane, there's two universities. There's QUT and UQ, the two ones that had architecture. I couldn't understand how these people could be going to UQ, studying there, not working, because we were the working uni. We worked 4 days a week, and affording like these nice apartments and things in the city. I was quite naive. I didn't realize. But, I mean, there you go. There's someone working the system to take advantage of it. Maybe that's what we need to allow people to do. Because right now we're going to have more of a class divide. And I've said that before. It's just going to get worse. You're going to have No longer will property and housing be the tool that lifts people up. Here in Australia, where immigrants would come over, work hard, and build a future for their family. Where my father immigrated over from, where did he picked America, South Africa, Argentina. It's all Germans do. Australia was the first one to take him when he got out of East Germany. So he came here, built a future, built a life. Not so easy anymore. So let's look at this. First home buyers are using the bank of mum and dad more than ever. But is it deepening a class divide? Yes, it is. You're going to have a class divide of those who are in property and those who are not. Now, here's the thing. If you think the house, I've got a poll on my community tabs that I'll send you to have your say on this. But if you think that allowing people to access their super is just going to increase the cost of the properties out there, it will. But housing affordability is not going to be addressed by property crashing down in value. Unless there is, unless the factors that are supporting the housing market here in Australia are all sliced away, we're not going to see this dramatic correction that people are hoping for. People are saying it's a bubble, it has to burst, it has to burst. You've got to understand, we're a little economy on the edge of the world that's sending resources overseas. We're an international education for English. International students come here, they love Australia, the weather's awesome. Politically, we're usually pretty boring, and it's stable, although we seem to be importing some issues recently here. That's not going to change. You've got the government continuing to support the housing market. You've got mortgage arrears are still at, we're not even at pre-COVID levels. I think you'll find, even, watch the cash rate go up. Sure, we're going to see sob story after sob story, and I'll cover it because I'm a YouTuber. That's what we do. But, guys, I don't think it's the norm. I think people are going to find a way. They're going to toughen it out to stay in their property. Because once you get out of property, once you're no longer an owner, you're a different class. That's what Australia's like. There's the property owners or mortgage holders. Then there's the renters who don't have it. Then you got the ones running the show right at the top. So let's look at this one. And this is from the ABC. As house prices across Australia continue to skyrocket, it's becoming more common for families to assist young people to enter the housing market. In the early 90s, the cost of a home was the equivalent of 2.5 years' average wages. Now it's more than 6 years' worth of the average wage in 20... Okay, so we need to compare it to household wages, not average wages. So in the 90s, now... what are we now, 30 years later, 33 years later? I'd hazard a guess that female participation in the workforce has increased significantly since then, where it's become the norm. So household income has probably increased too, and that's flowed through to the property market. In 22, the median price for a house in a capital city was over $928,000. The help of parents and other family members is often clearly needed. According to the Australian Housing and Urban Research Institute, those with support from what's been dubbed as the Bank of Mum and Dad are twice as likely to enter the property market as those with no support. But family help also risks exacerbating a class divide and creating a future in which housing is determined by generational wealth. Yes, that's happening. That's happening. Why are we surprised? I mean, the ABC is probably surprised. Family support is rising enormously. Well, a lot of the previous generation have made significant profit on their houses. And if they want to support their kids, let them. Why not? If you want to address a class divide, maybe let people keep more of control of their own money that they earn. University of Newcastle youth sociologist Julia Cook studies young people, intergenerational wealth and housing. She says that in less than a decade, the number of first-home buyers with assistance from family has increased fivefold. We know that in 2010, around 12% of people who were first-home buyers were getting assistance from the Bank of Mum and Dad. It got up to about 60% in 2017 onwards, so it's grown enormously. It's not just surging house prices impacting the trend. Low wage growth over the last 2 decades is also playing a role. In 2010, annual wage growth was at 3%, but in 23, it had only increased by 3.6%. I mean, if you want to increase your wages, you're not going to sit on your ass and just expect them to go up. You need to take action. And a big part of that is changing jobs or careers or opportunities. So you tell me, guys, I've not been an employee for forever. So I don't know. How's it work? Lawrence Troy, a senior lecturer in urbanism at the University of Sydney, who surveyed hundreds of millennial renters and homeowners over 21 and 22, said the rise in unstable incomes for young people, such as fixed-term contracts and casual work, is also contributing to the need for family help to buy a home. Yeah, I mean, that's the reality of it. Some of the perks previous generations got is just insane. It is just utterly insane. They were spoiled, particularly the ones in the civil service. It was insane. The super deals they got, utter bullshit. We're now in this situation where a few years ago, more than half of employed younger people were in what they called non-standard employment. This impacts their ability to save, get financed, and buy housing. The house becomes the bank. Family assistance ranges from cash to non-financial support like childcare, which allows a parent to return to work sooner than after having a child, or to work more hours. I mean, that's normal. Used to have multi-generational housing, where you'd have 3 generations living in the same house, working and supporting each other. Honestly, I think we should be designing houses to accommodate that trend. That's not a bad thing. You remember granny flats? I'd rather kids were looked after by family members than some stranger in a childcare. At least they're bonding with someone who's going to be a part of their life. And there's another kind of help, using existing property as a tool to enter the market. Well, if you have made, frankly, a shitload of undeserved equity gains, like I have, like everyone has, okay, it's not due to any skill or buying at the right time. It's just luck. We all know that. I'm hoping we all know that. I know previous generations realized that. I mean, sure, you worked hard for it. You held on to the property. You've had to maintain it. But the growth has been beyond anything you probably anticipated. So if they've got that equity and they can draw upon that to help their offspring, families get into a house, let them do that. And this is the thing. It's not going to be fair, but I know the ABC viewers may not understand this. Life isn't fair, guys. So you got to deal with it. One way a family member doing this is by being a third-party guarantor, meaning their properties use the security for someone else's home loan. Yeah, that's a shit idea. Honestly, I'd rather. I mean, not that I'm in any position to give financial advice. I'm an architect, not a financial professional. And we're notoriously bad with, getting wealthy. But, I mean, rather than being a guarantor on someone else's loan, putting money up, because then you're just you're capping your risk to that point of money that you provided. If you don't have it, get it. So, owners can also draw on the equity of their property or sell it and downsize, splitting the capital gains between their children, says Monique McKenzie, a Sydney University researcher who works looking at income and inequality. I mean, we want people to downsize. This is probably the best thing you can do. Why not? If they don't need the family home anymore, sell it off. If they've made an insane profit from it, use it. The house becomes a bank, essentially, that parents have to be able to help their children. Yet, I think this is also a cultural difference here. I mean, we've got so many kids that we're going to really struggle to provide them all with house deposits. Our strategy is to teach them about building passive income and investing from a young age to build their own stack of wealth, to learn how to get money working for them from a very young age. My 10-year-old daughter has an investment goal. She wants to build up her passive income dividend every month to be enough to pay for her mobile phone. So we told her if she wants a mobile phone, she has to pay for it herself. That's her goal. I think if a 10-year-old is thinking about that, that's at least getting her thinking about the right things, how to use investments to pay for parts of your life. Dr. Cook said owning property is increasingly considered to be essential in ensuring that the next generation can enter the housing market. The level of assistance that's provided for getting into the property market is something that you don't really see for any other kind of goal. The landed gentry situation. Dr. McKenzie said there's a risk in first home buyers relying on family members with property to get into the housing market, increasing the divide between the classes. That's going to happen. What we're starting to see is that what the parents have now really indicates the class position of their children and their children's children, she says. We're going back to this landed gentry situation happening again, where we'll have the homeowners and the renters, the landed gentry and the renters. Dr. Troy agrees there's a problem of inequality in sharing wealth through housing. Oh, are the bastards going to propose a death tax, are they? Another bloody tax? Well, maybe, because I guarantee you a lot of these young people are earning good money, but so much of it gets siphoned away by taxes, expenses, government charges. And then the bugbear for my episode tonight is superannuation. It's money just sitting there. What's growing faster, property or the stock market? So anyway, if the only way into home ownership is through family assistance, what we're effectively talking about is inherited wealth, he says. So your chance of becoming a homeowner are dependent on the family you're born into. That sounds very much to me like a 19th century hereditary society that we all thought we were dispensing with 60 years ago. I think it's returning in a big way. Well, maybe we need to look at some of the other benefits of 19th century culture and see how we can apply those. I'm sure a lot of the woke shit we're dealing with these days, and we're just replacing the 19th century discrimination with modern discrimination, hey? We're no smarter than people in the past. Not at all. We keep doing the stupid shit again and again, don't we? Oh, it's expected that $3.5 trillion worth of assets in Australia will be passed on through inheritance by 2025. And that means an increasing concentration of people who can own homes, and also an increasing amount of people who feel like they can't access that dream. Well, that dream, yes. Well, let's have a chat about this one, guys. What do you reckon? I mean, you'll see comments on this video, I'm sure, or other videos I've done, where people share their stories of getting into housing and how they worked their asses off when they got in. Now, I don't think there's any way to address this other than allowing people access to their own money. And it should be the individual's choice on how they use it. There'd be tremendous amount of political pressure not to allow people to access or even borrow a part of their super and have to pay it back to get into housing. Because, well, the unions, the banks, the super funds, they want to control your money. They don't think you're smart enough to prepare and save for your retirement. I don't know if the average Aussie is as stupid as they think. Maybe. Before you do that, you need to pass a financial literacy exam or qualification. I know it's very paternalistic, but I'm trying to reach a halfway measure to allow a generation of Aussies to actually use some of their own wealth. I mean, what's stopping if you took 50, 100 grand out of your super? That helped you get a deposit. Or that bumped your deposit up so much that you wouldn't need insurance anymore. That's not for you. That's for the banks. So, you tell me, guys, what do you think? Vote in the poll. I'll put the link down below. And we'll have to see where it all goes. Because honestly, I don't think the housing affordability issues in Australia are going to be solved anytime soon by any of the political machinations we have. It's just going to be more of the status quo. What's worse than the status quo is if we start looking at some of the Greens policies. Now that could really be a disaster. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.